G'day YouTube, my name's Lance and welcome to Bundy Bears Shed. Well, it's Saturday morning, beautiful day outside, nice painting day. We're painting a bit on the old John Deere 420 here, but through the week we had to take a few steps backwards. Pardon me, I mentioned last week that I had a couple of little drips coming out of the rear arms, and so I pulled the back of the hydraulics off the John Deere 420 on the high crop here, and it has some seals on the shafts and the main lift shafts where we put that washer and that in earlier videos. And anyway, because it never had enough oil in it, probably ever in its life for a long time, once I filled it up, serviced it properly, I came back the next day to find out that there was a couple of little puddles on the floor, and the puddles were only about 2 inches across, and that was overnight, but still, you don't want that on a tractor that you've just put all your time and energy into to make a nice little show tractor. So something to take around to the displays and show the old farmers, and you know, they'll part of the fun of that is you have a pride in the work that you've done, and plus the old farmers, ranchers in America, but we call them farmers out here. The old farmers, they come and chat to you about, oh, you know, I had one of them, or my dad had one of them, and they engage with you and have a bit of a yarn, and you never know, sometimes out of that they'll say, well, yeah, oh, Harry down the road's got one of them, or you know, you get a bit of a tip on what might come along, and it'll give you an opportunity to buy another piece of gear and restore. Probably not that I need any if you look around my shed at the moment, but anyway, I think we've got about 8 tractors. So, but anyway, I haven't counted them for a while, and I don't think I will. But yeah, in doing that, the seals in the hydraulics on the arms, I looked up the John Deere part numbers, and John Deere Australia didn't have any, but it looked like they superseded to a modern number of another type of lip seal. And so we ordered them up from Melbourne, got them airbagged up so I could work on it this weekend, and I got them the other day and come up the shed after work and thought, right, I'll put these in, and they're different. The shaft size is the same size, but the outer diameter of the seals is a different size. So then I had to work out, oh well, you know, I could machine the shafts out as the other ones weren't available, but it would have left the splines too thin. So what we've come up with, we've measured the shaft diameter and, you know, the ID of the O-ring and the OD of the O-ring, and we've come up with an O-ring of a 5mm section, which is around 3/16 in miles an hour, and I've done a dummy run on the bench on poking the O-rings up in there, and they're quite a firm fit to actually push in the grooves. So I'm going to go with that. They're tight enough that the arms will still move up and down okay, but they're quite a firm fit, so I'm confident that no oil will come out. The oil in that canister is only the oil reservoir. It's not under pressure, it's only under atmospheric pressure. There's a breather on the top that's clear, you know, clear of obstruction, so the tank can bleed, no worries, and breathe okay as the oil heats up and cools down. So it should only be about atmospheric pressure on these seals. So anyway, that's what we do, and we'll film a little bit of that this morning. Once you pull the shafts out of the back there, it's one of those jobs when you pull the shaft out and you hear clunk, and you think, oh, I wonder what that was. And so anyway, I pulled it out and heard the clunk, and where the shaft goes through, there's a lever on it with a donkey's dick on it, and the donkey's dick goes up to the piston, and that's on a master spline, and that collar had dropped down. So in cleaning it all up, I've got those shafts all back in again. Now we've got the old seals out, and we can poke the new O-rings in there, so that'll work out okay. I'll have a little bit of paint to touch up, but that's okay too. I've worked out over the years that after you paint something, if you do need to repair, if you mix up your paint as you would with thinners and a bit of hardener, and you can run around the split line with a brush and do a watery mix, and it etches in and sits nice and flat. Then once that's gone off, you do another couple of coats, and it's really hard to pick that anything's ever gone on there. So having that happen is not such a problem. So we'll film a little bit of that. The levelling box that we repaired last Kangaroo Stew, it's all painted. The arms are painted now. I've painted some of the battery box covers for the side of the tractor there. That's all looking good, but there's been another hiccup, and well, it was a shit of a thing. The nose cone on the tractor that I was just sanding, getting it ready for paint, and I had it at the doorway there painted with undercoat, or with like it's like a spray putty, but it's an undercoat, and it's a 2-pack product, and I'd painted it, and I just had it at the doorway there sitting, just waiting for it to flash off with the air and dry out enough that I could probably drop another light coat over, or start sanding and doing the final sand before the green paint come on. But anyway, last Sunday, Mum and Dad come to visit, and about every 2 weeks they come over for a Sunday yarn and get some eggs and, yeah, you know, do what families do. And Mum usually stays up the house, and you know, her and Judy talk about women's things, I suppose. Who knows? Secret women's business. Us bloke, we just don't need to know that. And the old fella, well, he comes up. He's got a shipping container outside my shed here that he asked could he put a container there just as he moved to town. He had nowhere to put all his stuff, so he's got a shipping container there. So he comes up and he fiddles around outside there and sorts things and shuffles things and resorts them and shuffles them again, and I don't know what he does in there. But anyway, and I don't need to know that either. I can live my life without knowing. But anyway, he comes in the shed here for a yarn, and I said to him, "Oh, look, Dad, don't touch that front nose cone there. I've just painted it." He has a look and he says, "Yeah, okay, yeah, oh, looking all right." Anyway, we're just sitting there having a yarn, and while I was sitting down, he was standing up. There's chairs here. Like, we got tall stools everywhere in the shed because the shed's often a meeting place. I often have quite a few people here for a yarn, and which we enjoy. You don't get much done, but you do enjoy having a yarn, and like to have a bit of a chat. And anyway, he's chatting away to me. Next thing, he just leans over and leans on the panel there to steady himself. And I said, "Hey, Dad, don't lean on that." He said, "What?" I said, "Don't lean on that. I've just painted it." "Oh, boy," he says, "yeah." Oh, and he pulls his hand off it, and because the spray putty had flash dried on the top, but it was still a bit dry, a bit damp underneath, it pulled up a heap of the bloody spray putty. And so I thought, oh boy, what do I do now? So anyway, I didn't do it while Dad was there, because I thought, oh, well, he'd probably feel bad about you know, making a fuss. Oh, I've got to fix this now, sort of rubbish. And so I didn't say much. I said, oh, well, I'll have to fix that up. Anyway, after they left, I thought, right, what am I going to do with this hand mark? He actually leant with his knuckles, and just sort of leant against on the top with his knuckles, and as it come up, the paint had stuck to his knuckles, the hair on his knuckles, I suppose, and it lifted up a sheet of it, and it was yeah, quite a mark. And so anyway, after they went home, like I didn't mention it again when the old fella was there, just to yeah, not make him feel bad. But after he went home, I thought, what am I going to do here? And anyway, I thought, well, what I might do is just put a heap of spray putty there, you know, a heap of primer spray putty there, and put a heavy coat on, and tomorrow that'll give me something to sand off. So I put a bit on, and oh, sometimes you get a bit carried away when you've got that spray gun in your hand, don't you? And I thought, right, I'll put a wet coat right over the whole bloody lot, and sort that out. So I went to do that, and that was fine. The paint went on all right, but I hadn't let it flash off enough. It was too damp. And by putting it on too quickly, it got little crazy cracks in some of the corners where the paint hadn't dried off properly. So the end result of me being a bit impatient and trying to do the whole lot so I could sand it and paint it the next day, was that along some of the seams there was little crazy cracks coming, which crazy cracks tell you that the thinners in the top has upset the thinners and the paint down the bottom, and it hasn't had time to set. You're putting too much on too quickly, and anyway, that's what I did. And so I walked away and went up the house and had a beer. Yeah, I thought, well, yeah, enough of that for one day. I'll just go and have a yarn to Jude. And, yeah, so we had a few beers and had a barbecue. Yeah, cooked a couple of steak on the barbie and had a beer and a yarn, and yeah, life was good. I'd had enough attractors for the day. But anyway, as next morning, woke up, come up to the shed here, and I looked at this front grille that was nearly ready to paint the day before, and I thought, what am I going to do with you think? And anyway, this is the end result. Right back to bare metal. I thought, well, all the time and effort I'm putting into it, I'm not going to take shortcuts on that. So the whole lot's right back to bare metal. I've got a little bit of sorting out up here, and you can't see where I did all those 13 repairs, can you? Ain't bloody tricky. But yeah, you can see like there's a low spot up in here somewhere, and up on the top there's a bit of a low spot. Then there's and from here to this edge here, it sort of kinks in a bit. So I had all that sorted out, and on the top there's a couple of slight rust pits. So anyway, the end result of that whole story is that all the work I'd done over the time on this nose cone all got scratched back last weekend, and I'll do it again this weekend. Yeah, we'll just start again and get it happening. But in doing it, in sanding it at the doorway there where it's a nice breeze, the tractor's got dust all over it there, so not to worry. We'll sort it out. Dust can wash off, no worries. So yeah, we've had to take a couple of steps backwards, but by the end of this weekend, we'll be up past where we were last weekend. So yeah, it's not all bad. So anyway, that's how it goes. So look, I might park you around the back and just show you where I'm poking the O-rings in, and I've got a bit of cleaning up of housings to do and things like that. And most of the mechanical stuff is done then on the tractor. It's just this nose cone and the bonnet, and I haven't started on the bonnet yet. I've got to fold a couple of patch panels and things like that. So anyway, we'll see. And another interesting thing that we're going to be doing today is I've got a still, a still that makes alcohol, and I've had it for years. I've knocked up some cracker batches of moonshine, and yeah, she's good gear. I gave it up because when you got 20 or 30 bottles of whiskey ahead of you in the shed, and they're similar in a bottle of rum, when you just finish a bottle of whiskey, well, you just grab the next one, don't you? And I was doing that a bit. I was drinking. You don't get a hangover from the home brew whiskey, but I was drinking that much of it because it was nice to drink. But I started feeling doughy, and I thought, oh, you got to, just slow up and not make so much. So that's what I did, and I've lent it out. But pardon me. And but what we're doing with the still today is the daughter Adele's coming over, and her and Judy have always wanted to do some essential oils, and the still, it's a 25 litre still, and it's going to be a first for us. I don't think I'll put it in a Kangaroo Stew. I think I'll just film it as a separate video on distilling essential oils. And what we have a crop of at home at the moment is rosemary leaves, and just as a test run, we're going to try and make some rosemary oil. So we'll give it a crack. We'll take some time out today with Adele, and we'll spend a bit of time trying to distill some rosemary oil. I've watched a few YouTube videos on it. It seems very similar to distilling alcohol, and with my still distilling alcohol, I could always get about 96% pure alcohol out, and then we would charcoal filter it. And I had a mate that had a water distillation plant, so we would put distilled water with the distilled alcohol and drop it down to about 40%, which your normal Bundaberg rum and Scotch whisky and things like that are. Then there's a carbon filter tower, and we used to filter it through carbon, and it was the smoothest brew. It was bloody beautiful. But yeah, and if I didn't need the alcohol because I had it ahead of me, well, it would take, I'd set the feed so I'd end up with about 10 litres of alcohol. Oh no, probably about 5 or 6 litres of alcohol because they're 2 litre bottles. And so probably 4 or 5 litres of 96% proof alcohol, and then we would water it down. And in watering it down, I would set the drip feed on the carbon filter, so it took around 24 hours to filter through the charcoal, that 4 or 5 litres. So anyway, we used to do that, and every morning I'd come up the shed and I'd pour it through again, and some of it got carbon filtered 5 and 6 and 8 and 9 times, depending on just what the time scale was. As I hopped into the car, I'd whiz over and pop him through again and head off to work. And oh man, it was beautiful, some of that stuff. We used to put a bit of flavouring in with it, and they have rum essence and Scotch essence and things like that that go with it. But I liked the Scotch at the time, and I used to have a brew that turned out like a Scotch whisky, and it was very much like Scotch whisky. And Judy liked the rum, so we used to mix a Queensland Gold and a something brown rum with it, and we used to do a blend of 2 flavours and to get this rum out, and it was beautiful caramelly rum. And but anyway, we stopped doing that because I was bloody drinking too much. And but anyway, the getting back to where we started, the whole idea of getting the still up and running again is that we're going to try and do some essential oils and just see, the girls are interested in that sort of thing, and scents and all that stuff that smells like burning cow shit. But anyway, they love all that stuff, and so yeah, we're going to help them do a little bit of that. So anyway, stay tuned. I'll take you around the back of the tractor and just show you a bit of what's happening, and we'll see if we can get a bit of interesting stuff in here for you. This is one of the battery side panels that we got painted last weekend, and I have the other one here that hasn't been put on yet. We'll get it around the other side, but at the moment I'd just rather keep it off. It gives me access to the back of the dash and just to tidy a few things up. But yeah, look, that's come up okay. I'm quite happy with that. The reasonable gloss on it. Yeah, look, trying to get a nice picture for you, but anyway, reasonable gloss, and yeah, one day I'll get the nose cone done like that, and it'll be all flash. But anyway, we'll sort that out a bit later. Leveling box we did last weekend, that's all nice and shiny, all painted. Once we get the hydraulics back together, we can redo that. The other arm is over here. That's all painted, and I've painted a section of chain down through here, and that'll be sway chain. So we'll get all that on after we do the hydraulics, and we've even done a little wing nut for holding the battery box cover on. There's a special tool I made for putting that on. So yeah, we'll run through that. And there was also some pins done when I painted the panels. So they're all hanging on the hoist at the moment. A bit of pipe going across between the hoist and makes a good painting rack. Anyway, we'll go over to the hydraulics, and yeah, we'll try and get everything together so we can actually fit these parts. Well, this here is the hydraulic housing at the back. I've got one bolt held in just to support it, and the shaft, that's the inner shaft, and this is the outer one. Now, the O-rings have to get pushed up in, right up in that groove there. There's a big one here, one there, and one on this other side here. And now this shaft's back in. The shaft slid out that way, and we'll get these O-rings pressed in, and we need to clean this housing here, down through here, and bolt all this back up again. And that way we'll have got rid of our little grip, and the arms can go back on, and those linkage arms and all can actually be put on. So anyway, I'll get myself organised and we'll poke a couple of O-rings in. Right, this is the housing where the O-rings are. These are a couple of O-rings. Now, on the small ones here, we can only fit one, and there's only room for one in the groove, and they are a tight fit. I need to just sort of force them in a little bit. That one's not too bad. Come around the back here a bit more. Try and stay out of your way, but it's a little bit hard. And this fella here. The same thing through here. But you just need a blunt object. Got a few mates like that. Bit blunt. I'll probably pay for that. Yeah, so that nice tight fit there, that'll stop the oil from coming through. And this one here, there's enough room for 2 O-rings, so bugger the expense, we'll just do it. There we go. These are 70 Duro O-rings, not 90s. If it was a 90, and like a 90 is a harder compound O-ring than a 70. If it was a 90, I doubt that we'd get the bit of squash that we're having here. Anyway, look, I'll poke these O-rings in, and yeah, we'll come back to you once we're doing the next piece. Well, there you go. We've got all the O-rings in, and I've put gasket eliminator here and round the suction pipe. Now, the normal stuff is Loctite 515, but Bearco brings out a Loctite knockoff called R51, and it's good stuff. I can't find any difference in it. We sell that to our customers for cheaper than we could buy the other one to originally, and it seems to be just as good a product for what I can find out anyway. Any experiments I've done with it, it seems good. So if we lift this up a bit, we'll get a bolt in there, a bolt in here, a couple along the bottom here to hold it straight. And this bolt here, it was just an old junk one I found. It was a bit longer than the rest, that would let me pull the housing back. So we'll take him out, we'll put the correct bolt in. And we should be okay. A little bit tight for the fingers. I've got a couple of spare O-rings up the top here that I didn't need to fit. I bought 4 home for the groove that would only fit 2, so that's no worries. We can see the glue come out as a full bead right around, and that's what we're looking for. That's how we know we have a continuous line of gasket material. Probably should be doing this with a ratchet a bit quicker, but oh, you know, what's the hurry? You're not on an hourly rate. Bloody lucky, eh? I think I'd break myself doing this if I had to pay myself. This is an anaerobic sealant, like once the air is taken away it will set. It never sets in the tube, and the little bit that comes out here won't set, and the little bit that goes inside, and there will be a little bit, it just mixes with the oil, and it's at such dilute quantities that it just doesn't matter. It's not a bead like a rubber silicone that can jam up the valves and things like that. Okay, that'll do for that. I'll tighten this piece up, but we'll come back a little bit later. So there we are, all bolted up. There's a little bolting here, it's done. The suction line is done. The seat frame needs bolting down onto the top, which is just 238 UNC screws. Get them started. This one seems to be a little firm, but we'll get it. I'll sort that out in a minute. Once I can get, I'll probably have to undo the bolts at the front of the seat support. And on our drain, which is our reservoir's drain here, we just put a little bit of sealant on it. And we'll nip him up. I'll go and find my very favourite shifter. You wouldn't think a man could lose a shifter in a shed so quickly. Right, that's nice and tight. The shafts turn. The next thing is to put this arm on this shaft. Now you'll notice a master spline there. We have to line that up around the front. It should be around there somewhere.